Tommy slammed his palm against his ear again. Not once. Not twice. Over and over, harder this time. Stop that. Daniel snapped from across the room. Tommy, stop it. But the boy didn't even look at him. He just pressed his ear, wincing, his face tightening like something inside him was screaming, even if no sound came out. Daniel exhaled sharply and turned away. He always does that, one of the house staff muttered quietly. It's just a habit. A habit. That's what everyone called it. For 8 years. If you've ever seen something that didn't feel right but everyone else ignored it, you already know where this is going. And trust me, you'll want to stay till the end of this one. Because what they missed changed everything. Daniel Okoye had done everything a father could do. Hospitals in Lagos. Specialists in London. Private consultations in Dubai. Money was never the problem. Hope was. Tommy has severe hearing impairment, one doctor had said flatly, barely looking up from his notes. It's likely permanent. Another had been more direct. You need to accept reality, Mr. Okoye. Your son may never hear. Never. That word had followed Daniel everywhere. It sat in his chest. It echoed in his empty house. It haunted him every time he looked at his son. And maybe worst of all, it came with guilt. Because Tommy's mother had died the day he was born. And in Daniel's mind, something had gone wrong that day. Something that took his wife. And left his son in silence. Years passed. Tommy grew. But not like other children. He didn't respond to voices. Didn't react to music. Didn't turn when someone called his name. But there was something else. Something small. Something off. He kept touching his ear. Not casually. Not randomly. Repeatedly. Like it bothered him. Like it hurt. Children develop habits, one specialist had said. Especially those with sensory limitations. Daniel believed them. Because they were the experts. Because they had degrees. Because they had answers. Even when those answers felt incomplete. Then Amara arrived. She wasn't supposed to matter. Just another housemaid. Quiet. Observant. Kept to herself. Do your job, don't interfere, the head staff told her on her first day. Especially when it comes to the boy. Amara nodded. But the first time she saw Tommy she paused. He was sitting on the floor tapping a toy against the ground. Not playing. Just repeating the motion. Tap, tap, tap. Then he stopped suddenly. Pressed his ear. And frowned. Amara tilted her head slightly. That wasn't random. She'd seen that look before. Back in her village, when someone was uncomfortable but couldn't explain why. Over the next few days she watched. Carefully. Quietly. Tommy didn't ignore everything. Sometimes when a door slammed hard, his body reacted slightly. Not fully. But enough. Amara noticed. And once you notice something like that, you can't unsee it. One afternoon she crouched beside him. He glanced at her, cautious. She smiled. Slowly she tapped the floor just like he had. Tap, tap. He stared at her hand. Then mimicked her. Tap, tap. She nodded. Good, she whispered softly even though she knew he couldn't hear. But he watched her lips. Days turned into weeks. They built something strange. A language without words. She'd point. He'd follow. She'd gesture. He'd respond. And slowly he started trusting her. More than anyone else in that house. But something else kept bothering her. The ear. Always the ear. One side. Always the same side. One evening she found him curled up on the floor. His face was tight. His eyes, wet. Not loud crying. Just silent pain. Her chest tightened. Tommy? He didn't respond. But he clutched his ear again. Harder this time. Amara hesitated. She leaned closer. Carefully. Gently. She tilted his head slightly. And that's when she saw it. Something dark. Deep inside his ear. Not skin. Not shadow. Something solid. Her breath caught. No. She leaned back. This didn't make sense. Doctors had examined him. Specialists. Machines. Scans. How could this be there? How could no one see it? That night she couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the image. That dark obstruction. It didn't look natural. It didn't belong there. And Tommy's pain. That wasn't imagined. The next day she tried again. Carefully. She gestured to him. He hesitated. Then allowed her. She leaned closer. Looked again. It was still there. Unchanged. Real. Her heart started racing. What if, she whispered to herself. But immediately fear followed. What if she was wrong? What if she made things worse? What if she lost her job? Don't interfere. The warning echoed in her mind. But then she looked at Tommy, sitting there, quiet, trapped, and something inside her shifted. Because sometimes, doing nothing is worse than being wrong. That night, everything escalated. Tommy woke up suddenly, panicked, holding his ear, his breathing uneven. Amara rushed in. Tommy? He didn't hear her. Of course he didn't. But he looked at her, desperate. She froze. This was it. A choice. Walk away. Or act. Her hands trembled. She moved quickly. Clean cloth. Sterilized tweezers. Her breath shallow. Please, she whispered, though she didn't know who she was speaking to. She gently tilted his head. Slow. Careful. Tommy, stay still. He watched her, trusting. That trust almost made her stop. But she continued. The tweezers moved closer. Closer. Her hands shaking. Then, she paused. For a split second. And pulled. For a moment, nothing happened. Amara froze, the tweezers still in her hand. Her heart pounded so loudly she could hear it in her own ears. Then Tommy flinched. Not in pain. In reaction. A sudden, sharp reaction. He blinked rapidly, his body stiffening as if something unfamiliar had just touched him. Amara's breath caught. She dropped the tweezers to the side and leaned closer. Tommy? His eyes darted around the room. Confused. Overwhelmed. Like someone seeing the world for the first time, but not with their eyes. With something else. A faint sound echoed in the hallway. Footsteps. Someone running. Tommy's head snapped toward the door. Amara froze. He turned. He turned. He had never done that before. Never. Her hand flew to her mouth. No, no, no. Tommy? She whispered again, softer this time. His head twitched slightly. Not fully. But enough. Enough to shatter 8 years of silence. Then it happened. The moment no one in that house was prepared for. The door burst open. Daniel rushed in, his face tense. What's going on? I heard. He stopped. Because Tommy was staring at him. Not blankly. Not vaguely. Directly. Focused. Present. Daniel's voice came out sharp. What did you do? Amara stepped back immediately. I didn't. He was in pain. I saw something. I just... Stay away from him. Daniel snapped, pulling Tommy closer protectively. His eyes burned with anger. You had no right. Do you have any idea what you've done? Amara's voice trembled. I was careful. I saw something inside his ear, something no one removed. Enough. Daniel barked. You think you know more than doctors? The room went silent. Heavy. Tense. And then, Tommy moved. Slowly. He reached out. His fingers trembling slightly as they touched Daniel's sleeve. Daniel froze. He looked down. Tommy? The boy's lips parted. Dry. Uncertain. Like he didn't quite understand what he was trying to do. His throat worked. A small, broken sound escaped. Not clear. Not perfect. But real. Daniel's breath caught. Say that again. Amara stood frozen in the corner, tears already forming in her eyes. Tommy tried again. His voice barely there. Daniel's entire body went still. Dad. The word landed like thunder. For a second, Daniel didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't think. Because that word, that one simple word, had been impossible. For 8 years. Impossible. No, Daniel whispered, shaking his head slightly. No, that's not. But Tommy said it again. Stronger this time. Dad. Daniel staggered back a step as if the ground had shifted beneath him. His hands trembled as he grabbed Tommy's shoulders. What is happening? Tommy blinked at him, overwhelmed but aware. Present. Hearing. Doctor. Daniel shouted suddenly. Call the doctor. Now. Staff scrambled out of the room in panic. Amara didn't move. She couldn't. Tears streamed silently down her face. Minutes later, the house was chaos. Phones ringing. Footsteps rushing. Voices overlapping. And through it all, Tommy reacted. Every sound. Every movement. Every voice. It was too much. He clutched his head, overwhelmed. Daniel noticed immediately. Hey, it's okay. His voice softened, shaking. I'm here. Tommy looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time in 8 years, he wasn't alone in silence. The doctor arrived in a hurry. An older man. Calm. Experienced. But the moment he saw Tommy responding to sound, his expression changed. What exactly happened here? He asked carefully. Daniel pointed at Amara. She interfered. Said she saw something in his ear and removed it. The doctor turned to her. What did you remove? Amara hesitated, then spoke quietly. It looked like a hardened mass, dark, blocking the canal. The doctor frowned. That shouldn't be possible. We've run multiple examinations. Then check again, Daniel cut in sharply. Now. The room went still as the doctor carefully examined Tommy's ear. Seconds passed. Then his expression shifted. Confusion. Then something else. Concern. He leaned back slowly. There are signs of prolonged obstruction. Daniel's voice dropped. What does that mean? The doctor exhaled. It means his ear canal was significantly blocked. Not completely, but enough to severely limit sound transmission. Amara's knees nearly gave out. Daniel stared at him. No, that's not possible. We did scans. Tests. Everything. The doctor hesitated. It appears this may have been overlooked. Or misinterpreted. Overlooked. Daniel repeated, his voice rising. For 8 years. No one answered. Because there was no answer that could justify it. Daniel turned slowly toward Amara. His anger was gone. Replaced with something heavier. Something harder to face. The truth. You saw it, he said quietly. Amara nodded, tears still falling. I didn't understand why no one else did. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, pacing slightly. All those doctors, all those years. His voice cracked. And you? He looked at her again. You noticed. Silence filled the room. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was full. Full of realization. Full of regret. Full of something new. Daniel stepped closer to her. Slowly. Deliberately. And then, he did something no one expected. He bowed his head slightly. I was wrong. Amara shook her head quickly. No, sir, I was wrong, he repeated. Stronger this time. I trusted people who stopped looking. And I ignored what was right in front of me. His voice softened. You didn't. Tommy tugged gently at his hand. Dad. Daniel's eyes filled instantly. He knelt down, pulling his son into a tight embrace. I'm here. I'm right here. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Because after 8 years of silence, this moment meant everything. Days passed. Then weeks. Tommy didn't suddenly become perfect. His hearing wasn't flawless. His speech was slow, careful, uncertain. But every day he improved. Every day he discovered something new. The sound of footsteps. The rustling of leaves. The rhythm of rain hitting the window. Simple things. Things most people never think about. But to him, they were miracles. And Amara? She didn't return to being just a maid. Not anymore. Daniel made sure of that. You gave my son something I thought he'd never have, he told her one evening. I can't repay that. Amara smiled softly. I didn't do it alone. He trusted me. Daniel nodded. And I should have listened sooner. One evening as rain fell gently outside, Tommy sat by the window. Listening. Smiling. Daniel sat beside him. Quiet. Peaceful. Different. Because sometimes, it's not the experts who change everything. It's the ones who pay attention. The ones who care enough to look closer. The ones who refuse to ignore what others accept. And if this story moved you even a little, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like this. Because you never know. The next story might change the way you see the world too.